So this is something very new for me. Field Manual, episode 0. Why is it episode 0? Well, I've already written episode 1, but I thought we needed to do an introduction into what this one actually is. So this is the intro, the warm-up. And this comes on the back of the morning walk videos because it seemed like they really resonated. But like everything on the main channel, it gets hidden behind a title that expires in 48 hours, usually. So instead, I'm going to try and put some of these thoughts into like a weekly video here on Howson IRL with a proper title and let them get found by the people who need to see them. The morning walks aren't going away, but I'm going to try and keep them to when I actually have something to say. They might even end up over here full time if they end up going that way. I don't actually know yet. Anyway, if you watch the morning walks, you kind of already know what this is. If you're new, you probably won't. But if you're expecting like a polished TED Talk or a list of life hacks, you are in the wrong place. This is not a lecture from a mountaintop. This is not a motivational seminar. This is literally just my notebook and some thoughts that I need to get out of my head. The topics will vary. I do have a little bit of a list of themes, and I do think some of them, maybe not all of them, will be worth talking about. Stuff that did seem to resonate when I was doing the morning walks, at least anyway. So Field Manual is what I am naming it, and I'm going to read out loud from it like this every single week. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to talk to myself, and if you're listening, there might be a few things that I'm thinking about, things that might help you if you're thinking about them too. Probably things like life, discipline, failure, fatherhood, training, and ways to try and get better. I'm trying to get my edge back. That's kind of what this entire channel is, actually, is trying to be a little bit dangerous again. But I want to be clear that this isn't a set of rules for your life. It might not really be for anyone's life. I'm certainly not here to tell you how to live yours. For one, I'm not qualified. I'm doing this to sort my own life out. Some of these are going to be quite personal notes, but they are reminders, thoughts, observations, and certainly not orders. It's me sort of having a word with myself every week, keeping myself accountable. And if I do say something that strikes a chord, you're welcome to it. Welcome to discuss it in the comments below. But I am not preaching. I'm just really trying to be honest with myself. Why Field Manual? Sounds a little bit American, doesn't it? Jocko Willink had a book called Field Manual, which was very much like a rules on life. It's a great book, actually. But Field Manual is actually a very British name. You have the AFM, the Army Field Manual, which is procedural doctrine, without getting too nerdy. Sometimes you'll hear people talking about PAMs when it comes to the army. That's a pamphlet. Battle drills, tactics are delivered in pamphlets. It sounds like a flyer, doesn't it, a pamphlet? They're not. And I'm a nerd, so I actually read them. I'm serious. They come in like a big lever arch file. They're huge, and they're very detailed. You also get TAMs. I thought I had my TAMs here, actually, but they're at home. I've still got my TAMs from 20 years ago when I was in Afghanistan, and they're like a little pocket book. In there, you've got orders, 9-liners for Kazovacs, communications. There's all sorts in there. But Field Manual is kind of like the high-level instructions, and that's what it is. It's, for me, easy to follow, easy to understand. Another inspiration is Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. Now, he never meant for those to be read. They were literally just notes for himself, his personal little journal, things that were on his mind, which is more in line with what I'm doing. Now, obviously, I'm not Jocko, and obviously not Marcus Aurelius. I'm not a Navy SEAL, and I'm not a philosopher, emperor, king. I'm just a bloke from Drorsden that fucks up, and I'm trying to make sense of, well, all this lot, I guess. I clean up dog shit in my house too often, so certainly not talking to you from up on high. I'm probably trying to recapture my youth a little bit with fitness challenges. I deal with bills and parking tickets. I had 2 this week, which is a right laugh, innit? Stress and the same crap that we're all dealing with every single day. So this isn't me talking down to anyone about how I'm better. I am in the trenches of modern life. I'm on my phone too much. I'm trying to get my little one to school on time without being the last one through the gate. Wondering what to have for tea every day for the rest of my existence. So these notes are the things that I think about. The stuff that I think about while I'm sitting in traffic. When I get 5 minutes to myself in the kitchen with a brew after I clean up the dog piss. So what can we expect from these little weekly waffles? Honestly, I don't know yet. Hopefully something real. Might talk a little bit about the battle to get out of bed when it's cold or my feet hurt. Or maybe I chat about my latest fuck up because there's no shortage of those. I might talk a little bit about wanting to be a better dad and how clueless I feel raising my kids. Might talk about fear. Fear of failure. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of letting people down. Might talk about discipline because it's everything that drives what I do at the moment, even though I still wrestle with it every single day. Might talk about legacy, what I hope to leave behind with family, with a football club, maybe through content. And some of you probably think, why putting this on camera? Reading notes like I'm reading my diary to the world. Well, again, partially discipline, but partially you lot. I can't tell you how powerful some of the messages that I was getting from those morning walks were, either in the comment section when people were putting some mad personal stuff in the public comment section, even more so in the DMs on Instagram and that. But they impacted me in a big way. And they've impacted me in a way where I still think I've failed with them. And I'll tell you about it because I think it's touched me in a way that I can't get out of my head. 2 months ago, a woman commented on one of the videos. It was a video where I was talking about cleaning up dog shit and me having a rough time where it wasn't going to plan. And she commented, "You stopped me ending it all today." There's a bit more to that message, but that was the gist. Unfortunately, that's the last message that person's ever left on any of my videos. And I've searched all my socials to see if I can find them in my socials, see if I can reach out to them. But I can't. And they haven't commented again since. So that feels like another failure. Now, I know a lot of you buy a username or a profile picture, and I might never have met you, but you lot have impacted me way more than I probably thought. So this is another lesson in accountability and another attempt to understand me, to understand you, and a little bit more about the world that we're in. Because I still feel all of those fuck-ups, and I just want to be better tomorrow. I got way more questions than I do answers. And even though the internet's a pretty ruthless and cruel place at times, and it can be intimidating putting some of these thoughts and insecurities out there, I think sometimes writing down what I'm thinking about and the tasks that I have to get done helps me work through them. It's like half of whatever I'm working on or thinking about gets solved just by writing it down in here. And if someone's thinking about the same thing and it helps them, awesome. That's what I was finding with the morning walk videos, that I was just talking about the nonsense going on in my life, and the amount of people that were like, yeah, me too, was mental. And I'll tell you straight, I have quit when I shouldn't have done. I've failed at things that I shouldn't have done. I've let myself and I've let others down way more than I really want to admit. So another part of this is facing up to that. Very easy to hide from failure. Very easy to put an Instagram life out there and say everything's going swimming. Pretend it isn't going bad, or downplay any part you've got in a fuck up that you're dealing with. But that's the ego talking. I think being real is accepting fuck ups. Accept that they happen. Accept your part in them. Look it in the eye and go, okay, how the fuck do we get through this then? And a big one on my mind is being a dad. Because I want to be a good dad, obviously. I want to be a great dad. And I'm not. And I think it scares me a little bit. I know that I can be better. I know I could be more present. And I think as a dad, you've got this constant thought of, what if I get it wrong? What if I'm too hard? What if I'm too soft? Do I set the right example? It's something that's constantly in your mind. And I've got two kids in different circumstances and different times in my own life when they came along. And I feel I can barely function as an adult. How are you supposed to raise kids? My son's 19, and there's been a lot of mistakes with him. My daughter is 6, and you would think it would be easy to not make the same mistakes with time. But what if I make different mistakes? What if I make worse mistakes? I have to be worthy of looking up to. And that means my habits, my health, my attitude, my discipline, and my whole approach to life has to be one that's worthy of an example. And starting over is another theme. Might even be the first theme. And starting over can be pretty humbling. It means going back to the beginning. Back to when you don't know anything. Back to before stuff wasn't working. Whether that's trying to get back into shape and starting from lower than where you kicked it off, or learning how to manage my time, or more patient with my kids, or play dress up with a 6-year-old. I've been starting from scratch a lot lately, it feels like. And I guess that has to be okay. Because how else do you start again and do it better if you don't go back to the beginning? Legacy is something that bounces around my head quite a lot too. What am I leaving behind? What impact am I having in a positive sense? Maybe it's something tangible like the football club. Maybe that outlives whatever it is that I can build it into. Maybe it's the lessons I teach my kids and how they grow up and be part of the world. It could even be this notebook. I doubt very much in 2,000 years it's going to be held up as some sort of bestseller like Marcus Aurelius is. But maybe my kids or your kids listen to these videos and understand that everybody goes through thoughts and doubts and insecurities. And maybe that's enough. So that's the gist of it. A weekly field manual episode, read out loud from my notebook. A bit of an exercise in discipline. Hopefully some self-improvement. Probably a touch a little bit on mental health. Inspired a little bit by a Navy SEAL and a Roman emperor. And delivered by someone from Drawson who's neither of those things. I'm definitely not promising any sort of profound wisdom. And if there is any, it's probably by accident. There'll probably be a little bit of swearing. And hopefully some admissions of when I'm falling short. No bullshit. If I manage to get something right, I'll put it in here as well. just so I can remember what that feels like sometimes. But I do promise I'm going to keep it real and I'm going to keep it going just once a week. So there we go. Field Manual, episode 0. Hopefully what's the start of a bit of an ongoing experiment.